For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on your favorite podcast app. Well, a new year is here, and what does that mean for everybody? Because I'm going to talk about it more in a second, but it seems like after the year of Corona last year, that people were thinking that just with the snap of a finger, all of a sudden everything was going to be great this year. Well, okay, let's stay optimistic and think that that's likely to happen. Again, I'll talk more about it in a second, but, you know, life is what you make of it, right? If you can make the best of the situation, or the cards that you're dealt, or whatever the saying is, then I think you'll be fine. But if you go into it with a gloom and doom sort of attitude, don't expect things to get better. So I'm going to talk about, I don't really understand this whole New Year's thing, the New Year's resolution, the New Year's party. Like, okay, so a ball drops, like, but what exactly does that mean? I don't know. New Year's has never really been my thing. And admittedly, we probably all had a very, very different Christmas. And I'm going to keep saying the C word because that's sort of the big holiday that most people celebrate is Christmas. But I realize that there's other holidays that people celebrate. I celebrate Christmas. That's what I'm used to, so I'm going to say that. But I have all respect for Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all those other ones. But you know, most of the calendars and everything really highlight Christmas, and that's what all the sales are for. You know, it's a Christmas sale, it's Christmas tree, it's all these things. And I'm not here to debate the whole, it's a holiday tree. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying, I'm going to tell you about the best Christmas that I ever had, because I think that we need to reflect right now, and I've mentioned this on the show a couple of times. We need to look back and celebrate what's happened. Yes, we look back at the bad things that have happened and dwell on those, and those make us depressed and sad, and those make us want to look forward, sure. But at the same time, let's have a positive outlook on what's happened, figure out how we can either spin it to make it better next time or whatever. So I'm gonna open up about my relationship like I've never opened up about before. This is, now people who are close to me know the story. I've never shared the details on the radio before, so I'm going to talk about why it was the best Christmas and what exactly happened. I'm going to be talking about a gay relationship, everybody. And if you're thinking that I'm just coming out on the podcast, not at all. No. No, that's not where I'm going here with that one. So we'll talk about my disrespect, my lack of interest in New Year's and New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and then my best Christmas ever. It's coming up on The Scribble. Happy New Year, everybody.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble, and once again, Happy New Year. I don't understand the Happy New Year thing. More so this year, now being 2021, or 2021, of course, because, you know, everybody was bitching and complaining about the previous year and how much of a shit show it was in terms of coronavirus and the election and Trump and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how long I saw people saying, either on Facebook or on Twitter, that I can't wait for the year to be over. What do you think is going to happen when the ball in New York, well, I guess it's going to drop just on a computer screen now or whatever. But what do you... you just think with the snap of a finger, the entire world is going to change and Corona is going to be gone. And Trump is still president now for how many more weeks, everybody? So yes, going forward, but look at the United States. It's still a country that is divided and there's civil unrest, whatever. Just because you have a new president is not going to... Look at the number of votes, people. Okay, I don't talk politics normally, but let's talk about this here for a second. When the vote was so close and nearly, and I'm saying nearly half of the voters voted for Trump, it's not going to just all of a sudden instantly you're going to be seeing kumbaya with everybody. This is now going to be a contentious next 4 years, despite the president being a good guy and the new vice president being a good gal and everything like that. You're still going to have half of the people resenting that president and not going to make it easy for him. Right? Let's be honest. And I almost want to mark this segment down today and play it again in 2 years if I'm still doing this show. God damn it, I probably will be. But do you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate the optimism. I appreciate people looking forward and saying, oh, I just want this year to be over. Let's just start new. What does it matter that the calendar flipped to a new year? And it's not, I've never understood New Year's Eve. Maybe that's also kind of, or New Year's, the whole celebration of New Year's. What I do appreciate, and I think I mentioned this on the show last week, was that I enjoy looking back at the year that was because I can look at my accomplishments and be happy and over. Yes, I had a shitty 2020. My dog died. My grandma got coronavirus and all these things. Yes, absolutely, those are terrible things. But I look back and go, well, yes, Corona, we were locked down for a little while. What it means, though, in the good books, was that I had lots of time to spend with my dog, who later got sick and died. I had, some really fun celebrity interviews that we did, good celebrity encounters and interactions. Dr. Phil became a good friend to our radio shows in April, and he was there for me when my dog died in the fall. So, I mean, that's where I look back at the year and appreciate the good things that happened. Yeah, there's crummy things that happen. That happens every year. You're going to have people die. You're going to have a setback in life. And I'm not saying to brush those off and pretend they didn't happen or anything like that. I'm just saying let's focus on the positive. Look at me again doing my motivational speaking. So I'm one of the people who, when they're like, oh, what'd you do for New Year's? Well, I sat at home. Like, I really don't, like, it's not, I don't care. I really, whatever. We're flipping, even if you have a calendar on the wall, let's even talk about that. You don't have a calendar on the wall. My mother has a calendar on the wall in the kitchen, and she marks down, different appointments and things like that on it. Most people do not have yeah, you've got it on your phone, but I'm talking about flipping of the calendar, physically flipping the page of the calendar. You're not doing that anymore, everybody. You're not. You're just not. If you are, send me an email, live@jbnr.com. Or maybe you do it at the office. I'm talking about, like, your personal life at home. You're just not. Okay? Don't give me this shit. Anyway, Happy New Year, by the way. So, so I've never really understood the whole kind of New Year's thing. But, that, people look at it. And maybe if it gives you optimism to look forward to something, okay, fine. But let's not be delusional about what's going to happen. Quite honestly, let's look at it for what it's worth. So anyway, share your thoughts. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. That segment was a bit of a downer, wasn't it, everybody? Well, but again, let's just be honest, right? This is the kind of year that it is. Well, now we're in a new year already, and it's already carrying over. So there you go. Quite honestly, now that I'm older, I don't make much of Christmas aside from just having good times with family members and friends. I've talked about that here on the show. I don't know that I've shared with you my most memorable Christmas ever And to me, it was probably one of the best Christmases. It was one of the best Christmases ever. So, and I haven't really told the story of my relationship and how that came to be. So listen to this, everybody. I am opening up. I am opening up all the way on this show today. So you're very lucky because the story has not been told. Many years ago, I've been hosting my radio shows for, well, at least one of them for 15 years. And I interact with a lot of people. Now, the show started before the days of social media, so we would have people email into the show, and like then and like now, I still respond to emails when people email into the show. I really do. Not the spammy crap. I don't give two shits about that. I just delete that. But basically, and I don't like calling it fan mail because that just puts an ego on me. I love interacting with listener emails, and so most of them get through to me, and the spammy stuff now we do filter that. I don't read that stuff, but I do anything that's either addressed to me or about the show or anything like that, or even if it's about me or somebody sharing a story. I do get them forwarded to me. I do get all the emails, and we would do a lot more interactions back in the day, so we would have like a daily web poll or email me your thoughts on this, and I still do that solicitation, but it doesn't, people will tweet something or DM me or whatever it is. We also just don't have time for that now because of so many celebrity guests and things. So nevertheless, years ago, I was getting emails from somebody who had, a bit of broken English, and I could tell English wasn't their first language. And like a lot of people, like a lot of listeners, I'm thinking of Kathleen, who was she was involved, she was affected by Hurricane Katrina. I remember those emails. I remember Ivan from South Africa. I remember... I'm trying to think. I remember Holly from Virginia. I remember Susan from Tucson. There's just so many people over the years that I've kept in touch with and gotten to know. Susan from Tucson I met in Phoenix at Pride a couple of years ago. So it's kind of interesting then to be able to sort of meet these people and carry on interactions with them. Well, one of them was emailing back and forth, and through the course of several emails and weeks and months at a time, the emails got longer and more frequent. And then thanks to things like video chat, MSN Messenger or whatever it is, and you had the webcam thing. Now it's Zoom, but back in the day, a little bit different. I started to interact with this guy, and he all of a sudden, out of nowhere on Facebook, I get a friend request. And so the name looked familiar, and then I look and I was just like, holy shit, is this the guy that I'm writing to back and forth? Like, the name is the same. I think it's pretty much the same last. Like, is that? No. And he doesn't have a very common name. So I just thought, I'm looking at this guy going, this is a model. This is like a ripped fitness model guy. And, now again, that's kind of the one-way street about the radio shows, is that you can look up the radio shows or me or whatever, and you can see what I look like, right? Back in the day on radio, you just kind of knew the voice. You might recognize them to see them on an ad or something, or on TV, and out in public you'd recognize them. But yeah, radio people, you didn't really, unless you heard them speaking in person, you probably wouldn't know it was them. And so all of a sudden I was like, yes, I'll accept the friend request. So basically I started to have a relationship with this person back and forth through emails and video chatting, and pretty soon we were video chatting every day without fail for hours on end. So I would do, the radio shows or whatever we were working on at the time, a book I think I was finishing, and my entire evening would be spent video chatting with this guy for 3 hours. I would get home, or if I was working from home, it was like I was sitting and counting down the time. Now he lives in Brazil. And so the best you can do in terms of a date. Now, I wouldn't say that we were dating. I would say we were getting to know each other. We started a relationship in terms of getting, a friendship in a sense. I'm not one of those people who it's like, oh my God, we're going to get engaged and we've never met. No, I didn't. No, that wasn't the case at all. And so it just became a really good friendship. And so over the course of, about a year and a half, quite honestly, yes, a year and a half of like regular video chats every day for 3 hours at a time. And, and of course I was traveling for work. And so he was really interested in where I was going and what I was doing. Come Christmas, so this was the end of November, the discussion kind of started to head to the point of like, well, you know what, we've got to meet soon, or else, we'll never know what's going to happen or where this is going to go. And so it was kind of him sort of, in a sense, giving an ultimatum in a roundabout way. I mean, I can appreciate his insistence on meeting or whatever. It's not like it's just, if this was somebody who lived in Toronto and I lived in Los Angeles, or he lived in Texas and I lived in Florida, super easy just to, okay, hey, I got money. I'll fly there on the weekend. I don't care. I'll fly there even for the day and come back. Brazil's a little bit harder when you've got, the 20-hour flights or the 29-hour flights and 3 flights when he came. And so I said, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. Let's do this for Christmas. Let's make this happen. And I quickly turned it into a radio show because I knew that we would be able to get a whole bunch of free stuff. So I was just like, yeah, let's do this. So we flew him in. I flew him in to Canada. I was going to be in Canada for Christmas with my family. One of the great things about our radio shows is that we can pre-tape a whole bunch of travel stuff and all the content well before December, and I generally get the month of December off, is kind of how it works. And so I was very excited. He was coming in on Christmas Eve, and I also don't really have people over to my house. So this was also sort of a double whammy in terms of meeting somebody for the first time in person and then having them in my house, because I don't entertain people. Like, I don't have a coffee maker anymore. I gave it away. Somebody bought me a coffee maker when I first bought my house 12 years ago, and I've never had a sip of coffee in my life. So for things like that, right? I don't entertain. I don't have stuff that you would have when you have people over. And so I had a cleaning lady who was basically off kind of for Christmas. So I was running around the house shopping. I don't clean my house, everybody. I've had somebody do it for a very long time. I was cleaning. I was doing that carpet push clean machine thing, the vacuum cleaner. I was doing all this stuff. I was very domestic, about to welcome somebody into my home for Christmas. Now, adding to the double whammy is that this person is going to be meeting me. He's going to be experiencing Canada cold, meaning winter, snow, and meeting my family within 1 hour of landing. So how's that for intimidation? So he knows English. He speaks English, but not the best, right? You have to speak slowly, and so over the course of the time that we were video chatting, I was helping him with English. I made a little flashcard game. Me being a broadcaster and a best-selling author, I know the language, right? So I was able to help him out with those things, and there was just that level of trust that was built. And so when he came here, my big fear, quite honestly, and I will be honest, was that he's not going to like me. I've seen what his friends look like. They're all the ripped, tattooed, tanned, muscular Brazilian. That's kind of the look there from where he's from. And so I'm like, here I am, this like scrawny, I've got the body of a 12-year-old girl. I don't think that you're going to like me. I really don't think that you're going to like me. So we made it a quick trip. It was, I think, barely 4 days. And I made sure that we had the schedule so packed that when we weren't doing family things, we were taping radio segments. And again, I don't normally work over December, but I thought this is kind of fun. Like, here's this person who's experiencing Christmas for the first time. It's Christmas in Canada, excuse me. Totally different than Christmas in Brazil. And because I was, if we're going to have this downtime, he's not going to like me. He's going to, maybe we'll fight. I don't know what's going to happen. And it was just really funny. So I'm nervous. He's nervous on the plane. We were making little videos for each other where he would say, oh, I'm just on the plane to Chicago now, or I'm almost landing in Winnipeg. And then I said, that's what we'll do, is we'll make little videos along the way. And then I want us to sort of put it together as kind of a little, not a documentary, but we'll put the clips together, almost like a clip show. So I was doing like selfie videos of myself cleaning and going, oh my God, he's going to be here in 10 hours and I haven't slept and blah, 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 blah. And then he's going to have one going, where he's checking in at the airport. Like, it was going to be very cutesy and very fun. And we both made 2. I made 3 videos. He made 2, because we were just so distracted. We were just so excited. Whatever. We just didn't think of it. He was looking up the names of the places where I told him that we'd be going. So we were going to go to a spa. We were going to go and do this. We were going to go to the zoo. We were going to do whatever. And I'm running around the house like a maniac. And so the last thing that the furthest thing from my mind was, making these videos, because I was in a panic, and who wants that memory? But yeah, so I get to the airport. I'm waiting. I'm anxious. He messages me that he's at customs right now. They're very nice to him because he was nervous that, they wouldn't be. And then you're waiting, waiting for the doors to open. Every time somebody comes through, the sliding doors open, it's not him. Sliding doors open, not him. And then in my head, I'm sitting here going, oh my God, did he totally just screw me over? Like, he totally didn't even get on the plane to Winnipeg. He's just like vacationing in Chicago. He's just stopped. He didn't even bother. And sure enough, he comes through the doors, and it was, I don't want to say love at first sight, but certainly it was probably one of the most comfortable hugs I've ever had. And, he's a pretty boy, so he was concerned that he just hadn't showered in like 20 something hours. And I said, here's the deal, buddy. No time for showering. You're coming off the plane. We're going into the car after here. We're going to go to the house. You're going to meet the dogs. You have maybe 10, 15 minutes to splash your face or whatever you're doing. And we're going. Because my parents are picking me up. We're going to be drinking tonight. So my parents, who their house is maybe not even a 5-minute drive from mine, and my parents are very like, okay, we're on the way. My mom is finishing up the food. My dad is driving. You don't make my dad sit and wait in that car. No. And my parents had no idea that he was coming. My mom had briefly saw him on a video chat about 4 or 5 days before, because my mom was a teacher. She's retired now, but she was a teacher. And she happened to come over for something, and he called as she was over, and it was a video chat. And so I answered it. I was like, oh, what the hell? And so there he's sitting there, this time of the year, December, it was hot, right? It's summer there in Brazil. And he's sitting there basically in underwear, and he's ripped and tattooed and whatever. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, my mom's here, put on some clothes. And so I said to him, look, let's do our English. And so we kind of have this little game or routine that we would do the English words. And so then my mom I said, okay, Mom, say purple or say whatever. And then he'll start saying a bunch of different colors. And I think that she was kind of a flutter when she saw him. And yeah, so my parents had no idea. My family, nobody knew. Even the staff. By the way, my staff knew about this guy. And nobody had known. Very few people. Because we had to coordinate some radio segments and things with it. But very few people knew what the deal was, what was going on. And so all of a sudden, my dad's expecting just me to come out to the car, and here's this, and he's in the back seat, and I'm like, "Hi, Dad, this is my dad," and then my dad is talking a mile a minute, and I didn't correct him right away. My dad, the whole novelty of like, this is your first time in snow, this is your first time in Canada, that was kind of the conversation and the dialogue. So we get to my parents' place, and again, there's snow outside. He doesn't take off his boots or his shoes. He just goes right up into the kitchen to hug my mom, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm yelling like, come back here. And my mom's like, no, it's fine. And I'm sitting there going, excuse me, if that was me or one of my brothers, we would have been yelling. We would be made to wash the floor after. That's it. But instead, you've got this hot, big muscle coming. She's all about it, whatever. And it was really fun, because I'm sure I know it was the most intimidating experience for him. And, in a matter of 2 or 3 days, he meets basically almost my entire family. My one cousin had done a student exchange program thing in Brazil years ago. So my cousin knows the language, my other cousin knows the language, and my aunt knows the language because she went there. When you have the student exchange, that means a Brazilian student comes here, right? And so when that Brazilian student got married, my aunt and uncle and my cousins went to the wedding in Brazil. So here's, people who can speak his language, and, they had some sort of Brazilian coffee. So we went to my cousin's place for one of the mornings on Christmas Day. And that was just the best Christmas ever. We went to a spa, and of course, he takes off his robe and we go into the hot tub and everybody's looking, and I've all of a sudden got like celebrity status in the family because I'd never brought anybody around for Christmas before. And suddenly I do. And now the bar is set. That's the thing, right? If this relationship ends, anybody who comes next is just going to be, they've either got to be bigger or hotter. Not that my family is superficial, but no, that was sort of the best Christmas ever, because, here I am just, meeting this person for the first time. And then, it was unfortunate that it was such a short trip, because like I said, there was that risk of, if he doesn't like me, then get him the hell out of here. And thankfully, it didn't happen that way. Everything went well. The dogs loved him, although one of them always kept barking at him. But he's dead now, so it's fine. And, I remember when I took him to the airport, and I had a family event sort of right after. And so I was kind of like, I don't want to leave, but you've got to go because your plane is going to be leaving. And then he video chatted me like 10 minutes later. He had just checked in at the airport, gone through. Winnipeg airport is a little bit small. You don't need much time to get through security. And he's sitting there, and here's this big hunk of a man crying in the boarding lounge, like by the gates. And I was just like, what? that was the best trip ever. I don't want to leave. And I was like, oh my God, don't do this to me as I'm about to, go to a family event. And sure as shit, he came back a month later. So now coming into January, which is award show season usually, I was every other weekend as an award show, and then I actually had a vacation. I haven't gone on a vacation in a very long time. I had a vacation planned to Palm Springs for like 3 days. It was barely like a weekend getaway. It was the one weekend we didn't have an award show. I didn't have to work, so I got away. And he's like, I'm coming back to Canada. And I was like, whoa, because come January and February, I'm back and forth between Los Angeles and Winnipeg. And so it just so happened that after Palm Springs, I was going to Winnipeg for the week. And I said, you're very lucky that I'm going to be in Winnipeg. Otherwise, you wasted, your money and everything. Because, I'm going to be in Los Angeles otherwise. And thankfully, it worked out. It was fate that I was going to be in Winnipeg that week. So he flew into Canada. He actually got to Winnipeg before I did. I was about 3 hours after. And he waited at the airport for me. Greeted me at the airport. He was looking for flowers because I joked that, you're going to welcome me with flowers. That's always been my dream. There were no flowers, so he bought cookies, and he gave me cookies at the airport. But, and that's just kind of how things went. So, that was the best Christmas, the best month and a bit. Best month and a bit. And then coincidentally, his birthday is at the beginning of February. So I naturally then had to go all out and make it, the best birthday ever. So anyway, now that we're looking back on the shittiest Christmas that most people had because you couldn't be around your loved ones, not to rub it in your face, but don't worry, I didn't have a glam Christmas this year either. We just had a very low-key get together. Send me your best Christmas memory, your best holiday memories. Let's leave this on an upbeat note, everybody. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. In our final remaining moments, let me talk about New Year's resolutions here, because every year, you're not going to keep them. You're not going to. Your resolution is going to be to work out more, to eat better, to save money. Like, those are kind of like the three biggies. I remember in grade 3, my New Year's resolution was to stop biting my nails. Like, that's deep for a kid, isn't it? And so you're not going to keep your New Year's resolution. And for me, what I say is, if this is something that you really wanted to change, you would start it like immediately. For me, when I noticed that, my pants were getting too tight a couple of years ago in the waist, I was just like, okay, you know what? No more of the junk food, no more whatever. I wanted to do it, so I'm doing it now. And I don't need the calendar as an excuse. Like, okay, I've only got one more week to go of eating, the food that I like, and then I'm going to go for the healthy stuff after. If it means that much to you, you're going to do it. So you can download the app to work out, and it's 7 minutes for, ripped abs and whatever. But you're still going to make that choice to sit on the couch for the hour and watch TV or whatever it is. So I don't know. Make the change any time of the year. Like, that's sort of the message here. That, yeah, I mean, it's just, if you want to do it, you'll do it when you decide it's the time. If that happens to be September, you're going to start it in September. To me, it's like you're almost looking like you're punishing yourself. I don't really want to do it, but I kind of have to, so I'm going to start January 1st because the clock is ticking. And are you likely to see success at that point? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe if somebody's there holding you accountable, perhaps, but I don't know. Normally, I would ask you to send me your New Year's resolution and then email me again when you've broken it, or give me an update in about a month or 2 months to see if you're still on the path. But I don't have faith in you. I don't know you right now. I don't know you listening, but you're not going to keep it. Seriously, though, actually, if you want to, send me an email, live@jbonair.com. Would love to hear a success story about your New Year's resolution. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Feel free to give me a shout anytime, whether it's about your New Year's resolution or about how you met your partner. How did you celebrate the holidays? live@jbonair.com. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,